Well, welcome to the back porch. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee and sit down and let's have a chat about homeschooling. I know, should you do it? Can you do it? Am I going to screw my kids up if I do this? What if I fail? All valid, all important to ask. But here's some good news. Should I homeschool my kids? Yes. Should I keep my kids in public school? Yes. Okay, so why am I saying yes on both? Because they're going to be okay no matter what you decide to do. The end result is they're going to be graduated, they're going to be adults, and they're going to be okay. It's just the path we choose to get them to adulthood. Public school, private school, homeschool, they're still going to be okay. So my advice, pick the path that speaks to you as the mom and the dad and go down it wholeheartedly. So here would be my top 5 things to consider this summer when you are thinking about homeschooling in the fall. Here's my top 5. Number 1, what is your why? If you want to homeschool next year because you're just ticked off at a teacher or ticked off at the principal, you better hold up. So if it's a matter of just holding a grudge, this is not for you. You just suck it up and you go back, go put them on the bus next year. They're going to be fine. This is not your why. Your why is, I see my child struggling, or I see my child excelling and they aren't getting what they need. So here's my example. My son, who is now in college, was homeschooled in first grade, but we put him in public school when we moved in second grade. He was doing very poorly in math, which was strange because we had homeschooled him in first grade. He was excellent in math. What is going on? For example, he would do things backwards, not in a dyslexia or number dysphoria type way. He would just do things backwards. So they would be coloring multiplication tables of 7 times 6. And you would have these little squares and manipulatives, and you would color 7 up and you would color 6 over. Without fail, he would, number 1, mouth off, "This is stupid. I know what 7 times 6 is." Number 2, he would just somehow mix it up and he would color 6 up and 7 across. Would that give him the exact same answer? Yes. Did he get it wrong? Yes. His brain would just switch stuff like that. And if the answer was the same, he didn't understand why he would get it wrong. And he became very defeated. My second why happened to be my daughter, who was in first grade in a public school. But when she was tested for reading, she was reading at the end of a 5th grade level. That didn't mean she was comprehending necessarily at a 5th grade, 6th grade level. Her reading ability was there. However, when she would get the books for reading class sent home with her, or their little papers, it was still hop on pop. So what is the purpose of testing her and seeing where she can be, and you're still sending her home with hop on pop? So those were my big eye-opening whys. Ella needed to excel at her pace, and Ethan needed to gain some more confidence, and I wasn't going to have a dumb jock in my house. Real talk here. And I think my third why was that spring Sandy Hook happened, and they got off the bus, and all I could do was cry, and that probably was the nail on the coffin of, I'm going to take the plunge and I'm going to be a crazy homeschool mom full time. Number 2, is your spouse on board, or in case of a divorce, an ex-spouse? Because if they're not, just go put them back on the bus. If you guys aren't unified in this, it ain't going to work, and it's going to cause problems in your relationship. So you're going to have somebody that, okay, I love my husband, and he's been very supportive. He hasn't taught anything. Now, there are times when he'll bring up that time he did that science experiment, or he helped somebody with their economics. He feels really proud of himself. I did it. I did it. But what he was there for is when I'm crying at night and I can't do this and I want to wring their necks. They need to get out of my house, and I'm going to just go back and to the workforce, and I'm going to make some money, and people are going to appreciate me because these 2 little brats don't appreciate me and all the hard work that I'm doing, and I'm sobbing. And he's my sounding board, and he's the one that's like, yeah, get up and do it again tomorrow. So you need a support system, especially in your home. So that would be my number 2. Are you both on board on this? And don't put unrealistic expectations on your husband. Like, he's going to do math. No, he's not. He's not doing that. I mean, maybe every once in a while, but this is real talk out here on the porch. He ain't going to do it. He ain't going to do it. So don't put him in that realm of responsibility. He ain't going to do it. Number 3, how much time do you have to do this? Ooh. I'm not talking about 8 to 3 every day, because you won't use 8 to 3 every day. No one does that. You can get more done and better quality done in less time than what they do in a traditional classroom, which is a good thing. However, your prep to do this properly as a mom, you can't just set a workbook in front of them and say, do these 15 math problems, and then go and set a reader in front of them and say, you need to read chapter 1, and then set some notebook paper in front of them and say, write a report on bees, and then flip on to watch the science video. If that is your idea of homeschooling, don't do it. That's not a quality education. No one wants to be educated like that. If you are thinking you're just going to do workbooks and it's all laid out for you, and all you'll have to do is grade some stuff and answer some questions, you're mistaken. That is not how it works. You will be prepping. Homeschooling will envelop you. All you will think about will be, what can I do for science? How can I make this more fun? Oh, look, let's stop at the museum. Everything revolves around education. It kind of sucks you in slowly. It's not like that at the beginning, but then you find yourself a few years into it, and then everything revolves around learning something. And I think that is probably the best thing about being a crazy homeschool family, is that really learning and educating yourself becomes your way of life 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So do you have the time to sit down and gather materials, to run to the library, to do field trips during the day? It's a lot. Now, can it be done? Yes. With good organization, with a good support system, with friends, with co-ops, yes, it can be done. And it can be done joyfully. It's not all hard. Some days are hard. Number 4 is the financial commitment, because it's there. Now, you can spend as little or as much as you want when you're homeschooling. But even spending little can be pricey. Luckily, here in St. Louis, we have a homeschool consignment shop. So things are so much cheaper, and you can go in there and find everything. There's tons of Facebook groups that is consignment and swapping curriculum and things. A lot of resources can be found at your library. Again, it's just time to research what's at the library and go get the books and bring them. But it's free. Literally, we've probably saved $1,000 over the years just by using the library, if not more. But it does cost. If you join a co-op, which I highly suggest if you're doing this, for the first time, join a co-op. Get together with other families who are in the same struggle bus as you, and the kids get to do some fun things, and it's good for them to have another teacher, another adult who is pouring into their lives and learning how to do it someone else's way also. So I suggest doing a co-op, but most of them do cost a little bit. And one of the things that was expensive for our family, elementary years, was extracurricular activities. And they are expensive everywhere. But I paid to actually send them to a good art class and a good Lego robotics class. And they both did musical theater and drama. It's not just the core subjects for me. So that was part of their education. So we invested a lot of money and time into those things. We also invested money in our family travels because that was part of our homeschool. We went to Gettysburg. We rode a horse through the battlefield. Oh, look, there's my dog. Hi, say hi. There's Bailey. Hey, Bailey. We visited battlefields. We visited national parks. And yes, it was our vacation, but we were learning. Now, there was a lot of KOA cabins that we stayed in. We weren't staying in the ritzy resorts for most of the time. Mammoth Cave was a tent, but we tried our best to see these things and experience these things and educate our children in a cost-effective way. I've already talked about what is your why? Is it legitimate? Number 2, you and your spouse, you're on board together. Number 3, are you willing to give everything of yourself into your children and their education? Number 4, are you willing to make some financial sacrifices? Number 5, are you willing to stick it out? I'm not saying that if you start homeschooling, you have got to make some sort of contract where you've got to go all the way through high school. It's fluid, it changes. But at least through a school year, are you willing to stick it out? And then in March, reevaluate with your husband, with some friends that you've met. Reevaluate, is this working? Not if your kids like it. Is it working for your family? And be okay to say it's hard, but yes, it's working, and keep on plugging to the next year. And be okay with evaluating and having an honest conversation and saying, this is not working for our family. It's tearing us apart. Life happens. People lose their jobs. Parents get sick and you have to care for your parents and your kids. You move. You get sick. Your finances change. You have a new baby. Real life happens, and we've got to be fluid and flexible. Now, I believe that homeschooling makes it more flexible because you don't have to school, like I said, from 8 to 3 every day. You can school at night. You can school on the weekends. You can school a full day here and skip this day and come back and do the next day, as long as you are tracking yourself and you're being accountable that you're doing your job well. But sometimes it's just not going to work out. Are you okay with saying it works? And are you okay with saying it didn't work? So be all right that you fail. Be all right that you succeed. Be all right that your kids are going to cry and say they hate this. They might hate you. And be okay with the fact that they're going to blossom and learn and grow in front of your eyes and not in front of another person's eyes in a classroom. You get to see it. I'm so glad you stopped by the porch to chat today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. Oh, look, my phone's going off. Imagine that. Okay, bless you all. Bye.